Get to the chopper now! We're back with a massive RC car from the company Gear2PLay. This is a 1/10 scale and we actually have reviewed many of these sizes. However, it's always like a little bit of surprise. How is the overall quality and what can it do? 1/10 scale, I think it's pretty cool. So the remote is an interesting choice because we mostly see these with let's say the cheaper and the smaller ones. However, this is a full motion, meaning we can just use it like a normal RC car. We have seen those weird things. Nevertheless, Gear2PLay is a very interesting brand, having a gazillion different RC options, and they're like a really fun way to just play if you don't want to spend a lot of money. So this was one of them I found on the Action, and I think it's going to be like interesting to see where we can find them more often. However, this is more like a buggy style, and this thing looks really cool. However, where this looks cool, it's still like an interesting configuration. Can we actually use this off-road? So what you need to take consideration in the beginner class, most of the time you're getting these, let's say, simple RC cars that look absolutely brutal, but they don't have a lot of speed and not a lot of power. So I was really intrigued seeing this RC Spark XL and how much power will it contain. Will it be enough to actually go on off the road, because this is actually an off the road model. So the first challenge is opening it up, because these things are packed up quite well. I love it how they have these boxes that always just displays this, where you can actually touch and feel the overall product. But let's slide it out. So they don't have the traditional RC remote. They're using this, let's say, game controller, but they're like micro switched. So one of the things I always thought, like with these, let's say not Gear2PLay, but like all of the cheaper under 30 bucks, we're having these micro switch. I think that's like an effective way to actually save money and to keep the price low. However, I've been went to different kind of stores lately and looking into like more expensive, but those remotes even exist with more expensive models. The RC Spark, there's not a lot of information about it in the manual, but let's unbox it and let's see what it is. The first impression we're actually having is quite positive, because this is a very big car. It has like a very nice weight. There's like this plastic underneath, and as I have like some nice okay shock absorption. It's not like super, and it's a little bit bouncy. But you know, I think this has mainly to do because of the overall configuration. Again, like we cannot expect too much from these cheaper beginner RC cars. So it seems to be this thing actually has a fixed axle. So that is one of the differences that we have seen with some of these cars. So the overall touch of the wheels, they are like soft, but not like super soft. The expansion, everything, like it's not bad at all. I must say that I am surprised. Let's remove the remote itself. Like I mentioned before, this is actually using some kind of a game controller, and this is not like a really game controller with analog joysticks. They're like these, looking like an analog joystick, but they're like micro switched. Yeah, there is nothing much going on. I'm guessing this is like a universal remote they're using for all kinds of different devices. But yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, because I love these authentic old school RC configuration. So when it comes to the batteries, that was an interesting option. So first of all, like you can actually use rechargeable some of these things, but their voltages are lower and we're going to be missing out a lot of power, so we need alkaline. The weird thing is I did notice with this particular model that I needed to change out all kind of, let's say, batteries inside the RC. The remote actually uses both, but in the RC I needed to go to the Panasonic Gold, because that was kind of weird. Like the particular models you see over here, when it comes to the one from the Action, this one, the A-Force, didn't do anything in the RC. That was really weird. So I was messing with it, trying to just check out what's going on with the battery, but I didn't do anything. So I went to the store, got myself another one, and that had the same problem. So I just then realized that I needed to use Panasonic Gold. All of them are brand new fresh batteries, and you know, I've never had this before, that I need to switch to a different brand because my RC car didn't do anything. Nevertheless, problem is fixed, so we're going to be connecting it, and let's have some fun now, because we can finally drive. So I would not be surprised that all of these RC cars having the same kind of, let's say, motors and parts. I just wanted to mess around in the inside on my desk, and I've noticed that the power of these things are quite okay. I must say that this thing is pretty cool looking, but when it comes to the performance on just stable, let's say, underground, we're going to be having some really fun. But if you're going to be messing around outside, I would not actually use this like an off-road buggy because, you know, we don't have just enough power. And you can just see over here that it struggles big time for actually going onto, let's say, some different kind of terrains. So where this thing is looking cool, it is like an off-road buggy design. I want to go to the forest and just mess around with it. So it's similar to the ones that we have seen with the Action brands and the other ones. So the 1 on 10 scales with this price range, I think we can actually say that we do have like the same configuration and the same kind of problems. So this is like way too slow in my opinion to really enjoy some RC, because come on, this thing needs to have a little bit more speed. But when you're going to be just using, like say, some very stable on the ground, you can see this works just fine. It's not like a speed devil, because yeah, this thing is not made for speed. It's just a beginner one, a beginner RC, and on gravel with a little bit different, we can actually drive there without any problem whatsoever. So is this a great RC for in the inside? No, not really, because this thing is way too big. So the overall configuration, it's cool. I love this kind of RC cars, but they need more power if you want to really enjoy them outside in the forest or some other configuration. Weird thing with the batteries. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what do you think. I wish they went for the traditional RC remote, because this joystick thingy, I don't really like it. Thank you all for watching. Consider subscribing, and it would be great to see you in the next video.